No, Texas week has not arrived quite yet, but Ohio State is now within a dozen days of the season opener, and plenty of pieces are starting to fall into place. Welcome to a Monday on the beat, not the Monday. That's a week from now as the Buckeyes get ready for the season opener against the Longhorns, but this is the Austin and Birm Show. I am Austin Ward. That is Jeremy Birmingham, and there is a lot going on. The second scrimmage is done. The captains are confirmed. A Block O jersey has been embroidered. And maybe there will be a quarterback on Monday, Birm?
Probably. That's the most interesting thing. We're heading into a Monday morning press conference. We have in-person situation with Ryan Day, with Brian Hartline, with Matt Patricia. It should be an informative day for a number of reasons, but I think the thing that everyone cares about is going to be the quarterbacks. And here's the reality of the situation. After talking to people about like Saturday scrimmage and everything else that's gone on, I think if there were 2 more weeks ahead of us, Ohio State would still not be ready to name its quarterback. But at some point, you have to put your chips in the middle and say, this is the guy we're going to build a game plan around. And I think that it will happen on Monday. But it's not, as we record this, in the interest of full transparency, we're recording this at about noon on Sunday. And the conversation I've had is that there's going to be people watching film on Sunday. They're getting graded on Sunday to see how they performed in the scrimmage. And if they have enough confidence based on that, then yes, we will have an announcement on Monday. I presume that will occur because, again, I think it's just you have to kind of pee or get off the pot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing we've mentioned all along is if the schedule had been flipped and you had Grambling and you had Ohio and then you ramped up to Texas, maybe the situation would be different. I don't know. Only Ryan Day can answer that. And I think he's certainly going to be asked about that on Monday at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center because sometimes the way he's described this battle and neck, and he has not ever really, I'm trying to remember, Birm, I don't think he's ever used the term like back and forth necessarily the way that he did in 2023. He's never put that fine of a point on it about There were references during spring and coming out of spring about how there were better days for Lincoln Kienholz than Julian Sayin at that time. But since we got into the summer and since the start of training camp, outside of saying how close it is and neck, he hasn't ever said, well, we could flip a coin and one day it's going to be this guy and the other day it might be that guy. He did do that with Devin Brown and Kyle McCord 2 years ago. It's not done that with Julian Sayin and Lincoln Kienholz. So if we're still working under the assumption that Julian Sayin's arm talent and that the comparisons a week ago to Joe Burrow and Dwayne Haskins were all done for a very specific purpose, that this is probably going to wind up with Julian Sayin starting against Texas. But I think the way that this training camp has played out, there would have been, as you mentioned, a possibility that if the schedule was different, that Ryan Day may have taken this longer to try and get even more information and try and get game reps. Because how many times... There is one thing we've heard repeatedly, starting in spring, going throughout the summer, and into this training camp, and it is that both guys are inexperienced. It's why they had to have days where they were live and could be hit in spring camp, because there's going to be different information that comes from playing in a live setting, and you can't change the schedule. I don't think anyone's happy about having to necessarily start with Texas, at least in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center at this point, but that point is unchanged, whether it was Julian Sayin or Lincoln Kienholz. There's a lot of uncertainty.
I just don't know how, like for me personally, I'm trying to get myself past the one comment Ryan Day made about the quarterback battle back at the end of the spring game, or maybe it was the summer, the mixed bag to the negative. Like that's like, that has not it filled me with confidence from the start, and not saying it deters my confidence in the players themselves, but in Ryan Day's desire to come out and make a big, bold proclamation like this is our guy. Like I think the reality of this matter is that the more data you have, the better. And Ohio State has certainly now had 15 spring practices, a spring game, all the summer workouts, the Lincoln Kienholz being an Iron Buckeye. You've got, I think we're basically at 15 practices now through fall training camp here. Fall training camp that leads into the fall, whatever you want to call it.
I want to call it training camp because that's what it is.
Training camp. We have 15 training camp practices in. And again, I don't think, and this is from talking to people who are pretty well connected in this debate and in this battle, that if there was more time, that a quarterback would not be named right now. But that is what it is. And I think that there's an opportunity here for whoever the starter is named on Monday. Again, we expect it to be Julian Sayin. If that does occur, like, he better not go out and be idle for the next 2 weeks. Like, this is still now it's time to really ramp up. And if you are getting the coach's trust, then you need to go out there and make sure that you elevate over these next 2 weeks, whoever the quarterback is going to be. And I think it's a real positive for the program. I think it's a positive for the team. I think it's a positive for all the offense and Brian Hartline and all of the guys who are trying to figure out how to beat Texas in that defense to know that this is our guy. So that ultimately, I think, is the reason why it has to be done on Monday.
Yeah. And they might not feel quite the same sense of urgency with the offensive line, but, just you and I mentioned it on Freaky Friday on the beat, getting ready for the scrimmage. Like, you look at this roster, and for all the pieces that they lost and all the relative inexperience that they have, it's hard to come up with any other position battle for a starting job outside of quarterback and right tackle. That's pretty wild. And I don't know if Monday with Ryan Day, with Brian Hartline, if we're going to get any clarity on that situation with what we presume to be a two-man battle with other dominoes that could potentially fall with Philip Daniels and Ethan Onyanwa. But like everywhere else, everything you'd ask Matt Patricia is about like backup and rotational pieces. I feel like the starting lineup, you look at it and you already know what that is on the other side of the football.
It's pretty wild. It is wild. I mean, if you think about a team that lost 15 guys to the NFL and won a national championship and one of the most experienced teams in Ohio State history, to be able to run out the next year's team and only have two position battles is nuts. It's truly crazy. And especially because one of them in the right tackle situation, nobody even thought was a battle until a week and a half ago. So it does say a lot about how well built and well constructed the roster is and what Ohio State's been able to do with managing that roster. But ultimately with the offensive line, it doesn't, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter. It does matter who the starter is, of course, because, you want to be able to be consistent and have some continuity in that group up front, especially for a new quarterback, especially for new running backs, et cetera. But whoever that guy is, he's going to be in that spot at right tackle or right guard because he earned it. And that is, I think, the beauty of training camp is that nobody really had Philip Daniels in this conversation as a potential starter until a week and a half ago. And some of that's because Austin Sehraveld went cuckoo and has turned into just an absolute beast of an offensive lineman. And then some of it is because Philip Daniels has really elevated since he arrived from Minnesota and he's pushing. So that's a good problem to have. I don't think that it's funny because the old adages, of course, are that if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one, et cetera. But if you have 10 offensive linemen, you have 10 offensive linemen, that's a good thing. And then Jake Cook lost his black stripe on Saturday after the scrimmage. Fahim Delane lost his. Those are things I'm sure people will ask about. And how do you get those guys into the rotation? Is there a spot in the rotation for Fahim Delane behind Jalen McClain and Malik Hartford, or how he fits in that safety room? Because we're 9 months into Matt Patricia being at Ohio State, and we have no idea what he's going to do with his defense and how he's going to deploy these guys. So that's something I'm interested in hearing from him is like, where do these pieces fit? Who is Fahim Delane in your defense? Where does he? What is he? What is Jalen McClain? What is Malik Hartford at this point? Like, what are these guys, and how do you plan on using them? If Caleb is the chess piece you move all around the map, where are these other guys settling in? Because I don't think you can just move everyone all the time.
You wouldn't think so, but we do know how some of these guys are going to be deployed as leaders. The captains group has been announced. The voting is in. And I'll say for myself, Birm, didn't feel all that surprising. Maybe there's one that we can look at in parse, although I sort of predicted that was going to happen. Austin Sehraveld is a captain. Brandon Inniss is a captain. Caleb Downs is a captain. Sonny Styles is also a captain and the Blocko recipient. I think people will look at that and probably focus on Brandon Inniss, but I think you and I have mentioned a lot on the beat dating back to last year how well respected Brandon Ennis is in the locker room, how he was already a member of the leadership committee a year ago, often gets overlooked, although not by me. I think I've said it 100 times to reinforce, why he is viewed in the light that he is by the rest of the Buckeyes. The competitiveness, the selflessness that he showed when Emeka came back. I expected to see Brandon Ennis on there. I don't know how many other people agree with that, but that part didn't surprise me. I did think there was a possibility that this group could expand to 6 with Kenyatta Jackson or Carnell Tate there knocking on the door. But Ohio State and Ryan Day recently have been pretty consistent with rolling with 4, and I tend to like that approach.
I do too. I think anything more than that, and it gets a little muddled. I'm not sure, other than the ceremonial role that these guys have and the role that they play in the locker room when it comes to off-season stuff. I'm not sure what value there is in being a captain, or not being a captain. I don't know if it's just, for Kenyatta Jackson, he's done everything this offseason he possibly could to earn all of the praise he's received, all of the discussion about him as a potential blocko, a surprise and that sort of stuff. So clearly it matters being a captain. These guys are the people who lead the way. I think the most interesting thing to me is you look at, again, this team and the inexperience, and to go into 2025 with 3 third-year captains and then one guy in Sonny Styles who should be in his 3rd year at Ohio State. So you're looking at four players who are first-time, full-time
can't
starters.
Check into a hotel in Las Vegas. 2 of those guys, we know that.
Only Caleb Downs is a full-time repeat starter. I mean, I guess Sonny Styles was a year ago, so scratch that. Ignore me. But the thing about this from Brandon Ennis, he's never started a game at Ohio State, and he's the captain. That's a pretty remarkable achievement, and it speaks to who he is and the leadership qualities that he has. And there are plenty of other players who could have been up there. I think Carson Hinsman is one we talked about, is someone that is somewhat surprising to me that he's not there. But again, if you start living on the edges and start living on the periphery, you could name 20 guys who are like, oh, well, that guy did this, so that guy did this. But these are clearly the 4 that have been the heart and soul of this team since January.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you went beyond that and Ohio State had 8, 9 captains, it watered down the impact. It lessened the important role for those guys. I think that this is probably the way that it should go. And I do think with Caleb Downs, I don't think it's a straw man, because I've heard a number of questions about, well, why isn't Caleb Downs getting more dudes of the week? Why isn't he an Iron Buckeye? Why isn't he doing this, that, and the other thing? Is he actually a captain? Is he actually a leader for this team? That he is. Was it with Jordan Hancock in the middle of last year? Just like the on-field coaching and getting on guys. This is not new for Caleb Downs. He was doing it a year ago, and I don't think he seeks out the spotlight and face of the program, voice of the program role that a lot of captains have to take on. I think that part will be relatively new for him, but everything behind the scenes, in the weight room, in the locker room, on the sideline during games, that part's already been happening.
I mean, if you listen to the CJ Hicks and the way CJ talked about Caleb last week, the things that Caleb does when they're watching film, he's like, every play, he's out when they're playing against the Ohio State offense in practice, he's just infuriating them, calling out every single play, what they're doing. If they're running a screen, that pointing out the hot routes, the guy is all over the place. He is a coach on the field. We had that conversation with Matt Guerrieri back in February. Caleb Downs is unequivocally a leader for this team, and he may not be the type to be put front facing, which I'm not sure if that's even the case. It's just he hasn't shown up as an Iron Buckeye. I don't know. I don't know what that really means. Ultimately, we don't get the parameters of what you have to do to be that guy. But
you tried.
I tried, but I mean, we know that there's a lot of people who are involved in the vote. But the captains comes down to the vote of the players on the team, and obviously, there's no doubt from them that Caleb is that guy.
Yeah, in a New Jersey for Sonny Styles, as mentioned, he is the 6th recipient of the Block O. Feels like there's a possibility that this might just become a linebacker exclusive award in the future, jersey in the future, given the way that this is trending. But I could not be less surprised by this. As you mentioned, there was, other options floated. But I think, Kenyatta Jackson himself would be like, well, Sonny Styles embodies everything that it means to be at Ohio State. When we talked to Sonny earlier in this year and sat him by that stained glass blocko in the facility, he did not, talk about that possibility at that time. But I think even deep down, if you asked him what it means and what he stands for, if he should get it, he probably would have said, yeah, I think that that would be a fitting tribute and honor, and he would wear it with pride, and he's going to.
Yeah, I think it's somewhat like being the president. Like if you're someone who wants it, you maybe don't deserve it. You know what I mean? And so certainly back in February when we were talking to Sonny about this, we sprung it on him, kind of like, hey, also remember, like you're now in line for that. What would it mean? He's done everything right in his time at Ohio State. He has been through a lot, like a lot. I mean, he committed to who is my brain just completely froze up on me. Who is the defensive coordinator before Jim Knowles? Greg Schiano? Luke Fickell?
No. Kerry Combs and Matt Lawrence.
Yeah, so he committed to those guys, right? But I forgot. I have blocked out that.
It was an unforgettable defensive era.
I have blocked out that 2-year stretch of defense in my mind from existing. He committed to those guys. He then gets to play for Jim Knowles, who wants him to be a safety and keeps him back at safety because it's a safety-driven defense. And then James Laurinaitis comes back to Ohio State, demands that Sonny Styles is a linebacker. It takes almost 2 years for that to happen. Last year, as he's learning the position, is a little raw, a little green, has his ups and downs. And instead of getting frustrated by the fact that then Jim Knowles leaves and he has to have another defensive coordinator, all he did was shut up and work. And that's why Sonny is who he is. And I think the beauty of it is, while he's shutting up and working, he's also learning how to speak out, and he's learning how to be a voice for the program and a face of the program. And for a kid from Columbus whose father played at Ohio State, whose brother he gets to line up with on the football field every day, like this is not something he's going to think about as much now. But I know for the Styles family how important it is. And 15, 20, 30 years from now, Sonny's going to look back and be like, man, I was one of those guys. And, I don't know that he's from Ohio thing has to matter as much anymore, but for the kids that are from Ohio that still choose Ohio State, that stick it out through the thick and thin and the transfer portal era and all the other stuff, I think those kids really need to be celebrated, and Sonny has earned every bit of the recognition and accolades he's getting.
Well, there has been that, decade plus conversation about Ohio State and national recruiting, and are you sacrificing too much of the identity and lifeblood of the program if you don't have enough Ohio guys that are out there for you? Like Sonny Styles unequivocally gets it in terms of legacy and tradition. When you grow up in it, not just being in Pickerington, but also because of Lorenzo Styles Sr. And the role he played for Ohio State. Like this has been Sonny's whole life. And so that part of it, when it comes to turning around the rivalry or living in the Woody and embracing the grind that comes with that and what it means to put on the scarlet and gray jersey. And now he's actually old enough that this is a tradition that's established before he got to college. So like the Block O is not some mystery. When it was first awarded, Jonathan Cooper was the first one. It's like, oh, well, they're pulling something. They're thinking traditionally, but not with a new tradition, to use some of Ross Bjork's phrasing here. It was like, what does this actually mean? It has become something that's really important to Ohio State. And that's why now we've got I think, clearer picture of who and why deserves it and gets it. And I would have been floored if anybody other than Sonny got this, because he was born to wear it.
100%. And you say that is correct. He was born to wear it. As someone who's old and grew up a fan of the Ohio State program, I remember watching his dad. And it's unbelievable to me that his sons are both now about to be leaving Ohio State, and I'm still watching football and still talking about it. It's kind of wild. So six Block O's now in history, 3 offensive players, 3 defensive players, only one from outside of Ohio, and that was Cam Babb. 2, Cam Babb, Cody Simon. So the history of the Block O jersey is taking on some life. I think it's fun to watch it evolve, because there was a moment there, and not to knock Cam Babb, who obviously I love, but like you started to wonder, like, is this going to be just for the guy who's been hurt the most, who stuck it out? In now you have the leaders of the defense the last 2 years in Cody and Sonny, and I think that's really what it should be. It's like, hey, this is our guy. This is the guy who will fight for the program, and Sonny's that guy 100%.
He is. Well-deserved honor for Sonny Styles there. Of course, for the rest of the captains.
What'd you do this weekend? Let's talk about that for a second. What'd you do?
What did I do? Friday, took the day to go play in the Roosters golf outing. So was out there with Justin Zwick, who will be contributing to 97.1 The Fan in the days ahead, calling some high school games and potentially, filling in on the Buckeye show as well. So very excited for Jay-Z. And that means that we can also continue to talk to him on the beat and any other content around here, maybe even add a fun casual joint in the days ahead. We'll see what transpires there. But great opportunity that Nicole allowed us to have. And then, played with Corey and Matt, two guys I hadn't met before who could absolutely destroy the ball off the tee. And that put me in position to make a lot of putts. And we won, Birm. First place championship in the Roosters golf outing. So
did you win wings?
Oh, yes, there are wings.
That's great.
Gift card to a fun casual joint, because I haven't had as much Roosters as I'm accustomed to over the last couple of months. And that's going to change one way or another. And then
well, that's because you don't like to hang out with me, because I go there every week when I'm in your city. When I'm coming to your city.
I don't like to hang out with you because I didn't go out to dinner with you. You come right back and live in my house. It's
not dinner, it's lunch. Number one. Number two, any opportunity to eat the Roosters as an opportunity that should not be passed. We did an escape room on Saturday night, myself and the wife and the two daughters. And
well, you got out. You're here.
What a wild ride. We solved it with 8 seconds left. We were literally down to the wire. It was a pretty good time. I don't know if anybody's ever done those, or have you ever done an escape room? Probably not, because obviously Liberty's not old enough to really contribute. But it was fun actually seeing the teenage brain at work when it came to critical thinking and trying to solve puzzles, because most of the time they just are doing this on their phone the whole time. So like you wonder if their brains actually work. So it was nice to see their brains actually in action,
8 seconds left.
8 seconds left. Pulled the last key at 8 seconds left. Click. Really?
Wow.
But it's fun. I'm not sure that those like we were in one room. It wasn't a place like where you had to go from one room to the next. Like it was like one room for an hour. And you just walk in and you start, and there's no like discussion about what you have to do. It's just like, here you go. Good luck. Just get out of here. And it was fun though. I quite enjoyed it. I don't know that I would want to do it again, but whatever. It's fun to do things.
Had to take advantage of one of the final Saturdays without football. There will be football games being played this coming Saturday. For some reason, Kansas State and Iowa State are playing in Ireland. I don't know why that is, but I'd be looking forward to watching it.
They're so close to each other. They could just meet halfway and be there in like 35 minutes. And instead, well, probably not 35 minutes, but they're flying that far, because obviously those are two teams that have a huge, huge Irish fan base.
Of course. And it's a conference game. So naturally you want to make sure that they both have to give up a home game. That's very whatever.
While flying thousands of miles away. It's good. It's good for everyone involved.
But
got to spread the game.
We only have one more Saturday without Ohio State football. We're getting so close. Everything, as we mentioned, falling in place. We'll see if the rest of the depth chart does as well. Later on Monday at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, we will have snap judgments. Will we be talking about a quarterback who has been named a starter? The Magic 8 Ball says stay tuned, but probably so. It's a very long answer on my Magic 8 Ball. It's different than probably the ones that you all grew up with.
How did they get all those words on that little triangle in there?
It looks almost like a bowling ball. It's much bigger than the normal one that you get in a store.
That's actually $1 million idea.
Well,
like a large Magic 8 Ball.
Yeah, I'm on it right now. So we'll talk about that and anything else that we learned from the Ohio State coaching staff. Busy week, the penultimate week before the season opener. crushed it. Thanks for joining us on a Monday morning on the Austin and Birm Show. It's The Beat. He's Birm. I'm Austin, and we'll see you later from the Woody.